Hey everyone, and welcome to the Press Start to Begin podcast, iconic games and timeless adventures. I'm Pixel Pete.
And I'm Glitchy Gwen.
And Gwen, get ready, because today we're diving headfirst into a world where you can build those dream homes you always wanted took, throw outrageous parties, and maybe even see a sim spontaneously combust.
Oh yeah, The Sims Wright, a game that's basically a rite of passage for anyone who's ever touched a video game controller.
You're telling me who hasn't lost hours building the perfect house, only to have their Sims burn down the kitchen because they forgot how to cook?
Maybe that one hits a little close to home, but you're spot on. The Sims is way more than just a game.
It's a full-blown cultural phenomenon, over 200 million copies sold, and a Guinness World Record for the best-selling PC game series ever.
It's kind of wild when you think about it. This game about everyday stuff, going to work, doing laundry, somehow grabbed the attention of millions of players.
So what's the magic formula? What made it so huge? Well, that's exactly what we're here to uncover today.
We'll trace its whole journey from some pretty surprising beginnings to its evolution over the years, and even touch on some of those spin-offs you might not even know about.
So let's crank up the time machine and set the dial back to the year 2000.
A brand new millennium Y2K worries. Napster was taking over the world, and nestled in all that, a quirky little game called The Sims was about to take the world by storm.
February 4th, 2000 to be exact.
That's the day Maxis, the developer, and Electronic Arts, the publisher, decided to unleash this digital dollhouse on the world. And let me tell you, it was like nothing we'd ever seen before.
Forget saving princesses or fighting aliens in The Sims. It was all about living the everyday life.
The good, the bad, and all the hilarious disasters in between.
And that focus on the ordinary was a stroke of genius. It wasn't about controlling some epic hero in a fantasy land. It was about creating you, your friends, your family in digital form.
Living out those virtual lives, dealing with all the ups and downs.
It's like holding up a mirror to our own lives, but with the added perk of getting to control the story.
Exactly. Want your sim to become a world-famous chef? Go for it. Dream of having a crazy household with a dozen cats and a toilet that always overflows. The Sims said, you gotta make it happen.
It was a sandbox of pure possibility, and that freedom was intoxicating.
But here's the thing, this game-changing idea didn't come from some big vision of the future of gaming.
Oh, really? Where did it come from then?
Personal tragedy, actually.
Wow, I did not see that coming.
The visionary behind The Sims, Will Wright, was inspired by a devastating event. The Oakland firestorm back in '91.
Oh, wow. I remember hearing about that.
He lost his home in that fire and had to rebuild his life from scratch. That experience of creating a new home, a new sense of normalcy, that's what sparked the idea for The Sims.
So sifting through the ashes of his own life, he found the inspiration for a game about rebuilding and recreating digitally. It's heavy stuff. But I'm guessing pitching a game about everyday life wasn't exactly a home run in the gaming industry back then.
Oh, you are so right. When Wright first pitched the concept to Maxis, the folks in charge were skeptical, to say the least.
I bet they probably thought it was this niche idea, a virtual dollhouse that wouldn't have mass appeal.
Exactly. But thankfully, Electronic Arts, who had bought Maxis a few years before, saw something special in Wright's vision and gave it the green light.
Talk about a gamble that paid off big time. The Sims tapped into this universal desire we all have, to create, to control, to try out different scenarios in a safe virtual space.
It's like playing with dolls or building Lego worlds, but amped up and digitized.
And you can't forget the humor.
Yeah.
It was packed with these quirky animation slapstick moments, little jabs at the absurdity of everyday life.
Oh yeah, who could forget that iconic woohoo sound or the Sims' faces when their crush turns them down?
Comedy gold, I tell ya.
Yeah.
But The Sims wasn't all laughs and digital houses. It genuinely changed the gaming world. It showed everyone that games didn't need violence, crazy stories, or even clear goals to be massive hits.
It was a total shift. The Sims carved out this whole new genre life simulation and paved the way for tons of other games exploring creativity, expression, and social interaction.
And that's where we're going to pick up after a quick break. When we get back, we'll dive into the nitty-gritty of The Sims gameplay, what made it so addictive, and its influence on all the games that came after. Stay tuned.
Can't wait. Okay, so we all agree The Sims was revolutionary, but what actually made it so captivating? Like, on the surface, it sounds kind of simple, right? You're just making these little computer people do everyday stuff.
Yeah, eat, sleep, go to the bathroom. Not exactly edge-of-your-seat gameplay, is it?
But that's the brilliance of it. There are no real objectives, no set path. You're the puppet master, calling all the shots for your little digital Sims.
You decide their lives, their careers, who they fall in love with.
Want to create a rags to riches story? Have your sim go from dishwasher to world-famous artist. Go for it.
Or maybe build a house full of toddlers and puppies and just unleash chaos.
It's all in your hands. Total freedom.
And behind all that freedom was this genius system of needs and wants, those thought bubbles popping up over their heads.
Oh yeah, those weren't just for show.
Right. They were like their essential needs: hunger, hygiene, social bladder, fun.
The whole shebang. And keeping those needs met, that directly impacted your sim's happiness. And if you ignored them for too long,
Let's just say things could go south pretty quickly.
poof, spontaneous combustion. It was a real risk.
Yikes. Talk about a bad day. But that's what made it so engaging, right? That balancing act between basic needs and making your sim achieve their dream.
Exactly. Like maybe your sim wanted to be a rock star or marry rich. That shaped how you played the choices you made.
It led to some pretty hilarious situations, too.
Oh, for sure. Try getting your sim promoted when they're starving, haven't showered in days, and are about to pee themselves because you forgot to build a bathroom.
Classic Sims chaos. It was like watching a sitcom unfold, but you were the director, the writer, the mischievous god in control.
And don't forget about building the houses. That was a whole other world of creative craziness.
Oh, yeah. Players would spend hours perfecting every detail, from the layout and furniture to the landscaping, and even the grout color in the bathroom.
It was like a virtual architect's dream come true.
And then came the expansion packs, like adding jet fuel to the fire.
New worlds, new careers, new items, even supernatural beings. It just kept getting bigger and weirder.
Living large. That first expansion pack really set the tone. Haunted houses, wild parties, the chance to become a pop star or a mad scientist.
It wasn't just adding stuff, though. The expansion packs actually brought in whole new ways to play, deepening the experience, opening up more possibilities.
Like Hot Date. That brought in downtown areas, a dating system, a whole social layer to the game.
Your Sims could go on dates, fall in love, get married, deal with all the ups and downs of romance.
It was like The Sims was constantly growing, evolving, becoming more complex and absurd with each new pack.
And that constant stream of new content, it kept players coming back for more year after year.
They couldn't get enough. And we got to talk about the impact The Sims had on the entire gaming industry. It spawned a whole new category of god games and life simulators.
It gave developers a whole new way to think about games, beyond the usual action and adventure stuff.
You can see The Sims DNA in games like The Movies, where you run your own movie studio, or Animal Crossing, with its charming townsfolk and chill vibe.
Totally different themes and looks, but that core idea of giving players the freedom to create, control, and experiment, that came from The Sims.
It's undeniable. But The Sims didn't just sit back and relax. In 2004, they dropped a sequel that was way more than just a graphical upgrade.
The Sims 2 took everything that made the original great and cranked it up to 11.
More depth, more complexity. It blew everyone's minds.
Oh yeah, I remember firing up The Sims 2 for the first time and being floored by those 3D graphics.
It was a huge leap visually. But what really changed the game was the aging system. Your Sims actually had lifespans now.
They went from babies to toddlers, kids, teenagers, adults, and finally elders.
And each stage came with its own challenges and opportunities.
Toddlers needed constant attention. Teenagers rebelled. Adults had careers and family. Elders, well, they reminisced about the good old days.
It added this whole new dimension to the gameplay. You had to think long term, consider the legacy your Sims would leave behind.
And The Sims 2 didn't stop there. They introduced aspirations that were tied to a Sim's personality.
So a family Sim might want to get married and have kids, while a knowledge Sim might want to master every skill in the game.
Those aspirations added so much depth to their wants and fears. It made those unpredictable storylines even better.
Oh yeah. Imagine a neat freak Sim falling for a total slob. Their house would be a constant battleground.
Pure comedy. And just when you thought they couldn't possibly add more content.
They did.
The Sims 2 introduced stuff packs on top of the larger expansion packs.
These smaller packs focused on specific themes like fashion hobbies, even holidays.
Gave players even more ways to customize their Sims' lives and homes.
They really knew how to keep us hooked. And then just when we thought it couldn't get any better, The Sims 3 arrived in 2009.
And it brought with it the open world.
Game changer. No more loading screens between lots. Your Sims could just wander around the neighborhood, visit, friends go jogging in the park, even pop into the library.
The world felt alive, Sims going about their day, interacting with each other, adding to the whole vibe of the virtual environment.
And The Sims 3 also introduced the wishes system, a more dynamic way to guide the gameplay.
As your Sims went about their lives, they develop wishes based on their experiences, their personality, even their aspirations.
And those wishes could be anything from learning to cook spaghetti to becoming a famous surgeon to befriending a ghost.
Completing those wishes earned you points that you could spend on special rewards.
It encouraged players to try new things, step out of their comfort zone.
It was a smart way to add a little direction without sacrificing that freedom and open-endedness that The Sims is all about.
But of course, The Sims 3 kept growing with a constant flow of expansion packs.
They added everything from vampires and werewolves to university life and even time travel.
They were like throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what stuck.
And most of it stuck pretty well. But by this point, The Sims had broken free from its PC roots and jumped into the world of consoles and handhelds.
We saw games like The Sims Bustin' Out and the Herb Sims in the City.
Each one tailored to its platform, bringing new characters, storylines, even gameplay mechanics that were different from the PC versions.
Gave people a taste of The Sims on the go.
And then there were the My Sims games, with that adorable chibi style.
Focused on things like building kingdoms, racing, even running your own bakery.
Those really appealed to a younger audience, bringing a whole new generation into the world of The Sims.
And then the mobile gaming boom hit us. The Sims Free Play and The Sims Mobile brought the experience to our smartphones and tablets.
Suddenly you could create, build, and socialize with your Sims anywhere you went.
It's amazing how The Sims has adapted across so many different platforms without losing what makes it special.
That core loop, create, build, simulate, it's a testament to how strong those basic ideas are.
Okay, so let's fast forward to today. The current game, The Sims 4, came out back in 2014.
And even though it had some controversy early on, it's become the longest running game in the series.
And there's a reason for that. They've been constantly adding new content and features.
Expansion packs, game packs, stuff packs, even smaller kits focused on specific themes, like the game's a living thing, always evolving and changing with the players.
And while The Sims 4 maybe didn't have the same groundbreaking impact as the earlier games, it really polished and perfected the core gameplay.
The emotions system, for example, that added a whole new layer to how Sims behave.
Their emotions are affected by everything around them, and it changes how they act and react.
It makes them feel more like real people with complex emotions and unpredictable behaviors.
Not just little digital puppets following orders.
And the level of customization is incredible. From creating unique Sims with intricate personalities to building those elaborate homes.
The Sims 4 really shines in giving players the tools to tell their own stories and express themselves.
But the biggest news in the Sims world right now is Project Rene.
The next generation of The Sims.
It's still early days, but what they've shown us so far is mind-blowing.
Project Rene is promising cross-platform play, so you can move your Sims and creations between your PC console, even your phone.
They're also focusing on collaborative building, so you can create and share your builds with others in real time.
And they've hinted at even deeper customization, giving players more control over every aspect of their Sims' lives and world.
It's ambitious, for sure.
We can't wait to see how it all turns out.
One thing to keep in mind, though, Project Rene isn't meant to replace The Sims 4.
Oh, really?
They'll both be around offering different experiences for different players.
That's a bold move.
Yeah.
It shows how The Sims is entering a new era where multiple games can exist and thrive together.
It's a good time to be a Sims fan. But let's shift gears for a second and talk about the cultural impact of The Sims. This series has gone way beyond gaming.
It's become a pop culture phenomenon influencing memes, music, fashion, even academic studies.
It's wild how a game about virtual dollhouses has sparked serious conversations about architecture, social dynamics, consumerism, even the nature of identity itself.
I think The Sims, with its humor and social commentary, has become this safe space for exploring complex themes and experimenting with different identities and choices.
Without any real-world consequences.
Exactly. Want to see what happens when your Sim marries her high school sweetheart or makes a risky career move?
Yeah.
The game lets you play out those scenarios and explore the possibilities.
It's safe and even empowering.
And we can't forget the incredible modding community that grew up around The Sims players, creating and sharing custom content.
Everything from clothes and furniture to elaborate storylines and entire neighborhoods.
It expanded the game's world in ways the developers probably never imagined.
It turned the game into this platform for self-expression and creativity. Built a community that went way beyond the digital world.
And that community is still going strong today. Think about all the online forums, fan sites, YouTube channels dedicated to The Sims.
It shows the lasting impact and cultural relevance of this series.
And speaking of cultural impact, we got to talk about the memes, don't eat the pool ladder, Rosebud.
Those phrases have become part of internet culture. They're not just about the game anymore, they're about shared experiences, inside jokes.
It's proof that The Sims has woven itself into our culture in these subtle but powerful ways.
It's amazing to think about how a game about virtual people doing everyday things has had such a huge impact on our real world.
And it's still going strong. The Sims 4 is about to hit its 10th anniversary, and it's still going, thanks to a dedicated fan base and all the new content they keep releasing.
It shows how powerful those core gameplay loops are. Create, build, simulate.
It taps into something deep within us, our desire to create, to control, to explore, and to share those experiences with others.
And with Project Rene on the horizon promising even more immersive and interconnected experiences, who knows what kind of impact The Sims will have in the years to come.
It's an exciting time to be a Simmer. But for now, I think it's time to power down our virtual consoles and step back into the real world.
This has been an incredible journey exploring the history and cultural influence of The Sims.
A game that's touched millions of lives and continues to inspire and entertain new generations of players.
It's been a blast. But before we sign off, we want to leave you with a question to think about.
If you could design a Sims expansion pack based on your own life, what wacky features and challenges would you include? What quirky traits would your Sim have? What hilarious situations would unfold in their pixelated world?
Let us know in the comments.
And speaking of exciting new adventures, next week we're trading our virtual suburbs for a Gothic castle as we dive into the world of Castlevania.
We'll be exploring its long and epic history, from its classic NES beginnings to its modern-day revival.
Unpacking its themes of family duty and the eternal battle against darkness.
So if you're ready to grab your whip and face off against Dracula himself, be sure to join us next week for another deep dive into gaming history.
Until then, game on. So we've covered the evolution of The Sims, all the different versions, and how it really shook up the gaming world. But now I want to talk about something a bit bigger, its impact on culture in general.
It's a really interesting topic because on the surface, The Sims is this lighthearted, goofy game about managing the lives of these little virtual people. But it sparked all these conversations about things like architecture, social dynamics, even how we think about consumerism. It's become this part of our culture that goes way beyond just entertainment.
I think a big part of that is how it reflects our own lives. We see ourselves in these Sims, in their wants, their struggles, even their weird little quirks.
Totally. It's like holding up a mirror. It's a way to understand ourselves, maybe even laugh at ourselves a little bit.
Yeah, like the whole house building thing. People would spend hours creating these perfect homes, sometimes copying real-life trends, sometimes trying out styles they'd never even consider in their own lives.
It became this outlet for creativity, a way to explore different aesthetics.
So, The Sims as virtual interior design. I get it. And it wasn't just about making things look pretty either.
No, you had to work within a budget, prioritize needs over wants, make tough decisions about how to spend your simoleons.
It was like a crash course in adulting for a lot of players.
Especially for younger players who are just starting to wrap their heads around things like finances.
Right. It made learning about economics and budgeting fun. And then there's that layer of social commentary that's woven throughout the game.
The Sims tackled all these big topics: relationships, family, career goals, even death.
And it did it in a way that was both funny and made you think.
It gave you this safe space to experiment with different identities, different ways of relating to others, different life choices, and there were no real-world consequences.
Exactly. What happens if your Sim marries their high school sweetheart? What if they go for a totally different career? You could play out those scenarios and see what happens. It was like this empowering sandbox for exploring life.
And we can't forget about the modding community that exploded around The Sims.
Oh yeah, those players were amazing. They created and shared so much custom content, clothes, furniture, new storylines, even entire neighborhoods.
It took the games world and expanded it in ways the developers probably never imagined. It turned The Sims into this platform for self-expression and creativity, and it built a community that reached way beyond the game itself.
And that sense of community is still going strong today. All those online forums, fan sites, YouTube channels, it's incredible.
It shows you how much of a lasting impact The Sims has had. It's more than just a game, it's a cultural phenomenon.
And speaking of cultural impact, we got to talk about the memes. Delete the pool ladder, rosebud. Those phrases have become part of our online language.
They've gone beyond the game itself. They represent these shared experiences, these inside jokes that we all understand.
It's wild to think that a game about virtual people doing everyday things has had such a huge effect on the real world.
And it's still going strong. The Sims 4 is about to turn 10 years old, and it's still thriving thanks to its dedicated fans and all the new content that keeps coming out.
It shows how strong those core gameplay ideas are. Create, build, simulate. It speaks to something fundamental in us humans. Our desire to create, to control, to explore, and to share those experiences with each other.
And with Project Rene on the horizon, promising even more immersive and connected experiences, who knows what the future holds for The Sims? It's an exciting time to be a fan.
Absolutely. But for now, I think it's time to log out of our virtual worlds and step back into reality.
This has been an amazing journey exploring the history and cultural impact of The Sims, a game that's touched the lives of millions and continues to inspire and entertain new generations of players.
Well said. But before we go, we want to leave you with a question to think about. If you could design a Sims expansion pack based on your own life, what crazy features and challenges would it include? What weird quirks would your Sim have? And what hilarious situations would unfold in their pixelated world?
Let us know in the comments. And join us next week for another deep dive into gaming history. This time we're trading in those virtual suburbs for a Gothic castle as we explore the world of Castlevania.
We'll be delving into its long and legendary history, from those classic NES days to its modern revival, unpacking themes of family duty and the eternal fight against darkness.
So if you're ready to grab a whip and take on Dracula, be sure to tune in next week.
Until then, game on.